that's the formula. And man, that formula literally changed my whole life. A billionaire mentor of mine taught me that formula, those 3 steps.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Think Your Way to an Epic Life. And I am so excited to bring you the wisdom of this man this morning. I am blown away that he said yes. We have not because we ask not. And this man, his name is Justin Prince. And I feel like I know him. I feel like he's my friend. Why? Because he does so much social media, because he does so many reels. And I can't believe I get to bring him to you guys today. Justin, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I love that you feel that way, because I've had mentors. It's so interesting when I met people. I've done a lot of work with John Maxwell, for example. And I remember when I met John, I was kind of like, I feel like I already kind of know you because you'd read his books or watched his videos or whatever the case might be. And so I love that you feel that way. We'll be fast friends for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like I connected with you instantly. I also happen to know someone who works for Modere, and she says we lovingly call him JP, and I'm like, wow, well, isn't that special? But she loves you. She loves the company. I want to start at the beginning though, just for everybody who's listening. If you don't know who Justin is, his Justin Prince, and if you go to I am Justin Prince, and we just put that down below, you can check out he's got tons of free stuff that he offers. You will grow. I guarantee you. You spend any time listening to this man and you will grow. But it hasn't always been that way, right, Justin?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's been this incredible journey. I tell people there's really 3 stages to the journey. And this is true of any even micro journeys, meaning like if you start a specific venture, or a macro journey, like with your life. But there's dream, struggle, victory. And what's interesting is they're all equal. So if you have big dreams, you don't get to sign yourself up for small struggles and then big victories. They're all commensurate, or they're all equal. And so it's like, I look back at my life, I always had dreams and goals. I always wanted to like do something with my life. And I hope your listeners that hearing this are feeling that same feeling, meaning even if when they were kids, because you know how it is, it's like when we're kids, we're like, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be a doctor, whatever it is. And then life happens, we have to pay the rent, we have to pay the mortgage. Like we have kids, there's illnesses, like there's challenges. And so sometimes some of our dreams shrink to fit our current lifestyle. And so for me, I was raised, my folks got divorced when I was 12. We moved 13 times in the 7 years through the teenage years. And I had really no professional background. So I was making pizzas. I was doing construction work. At age 21, I was working at a mall kiosk selling animated Bible videos. So I was the guy that you tried to avoid at the mall, because you try to like not make eye contact with, because I would like, suck you into my mall kiosk and sell you Bible videos. So I always had big dreams and big goals. I started my first business at 25. My wife and I was married at 22. I had no college education. We had a little baby boy when I was 25. And so I kind of had life coming at me fast. I needed to provide and so on, and started this first little business. I thought, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm like, I'm going to be successful. Like, let's go. And long story short, the company who we were distributing their nutritional products, the company itself, kind of the parent company, went out of business. And when that happened, our business was completely toasted overnight. So really of no fault in essence of our own. And when that happened, I was below zero financially. I was back on credit cards, back on taxes. I was in a very precarious financial situation. I ultimately went on and started a second business, but to like keep the family afloat in the meantime, I started got 2 part-time jobs, and was working, in the weekdays, weeknights with the one job, and then the weekends on the other job. We moved my pregnant wife and our now 2 kids in the loft of my wife's parents' garage. So I have 2 babies sleeping in the closet. My wife and I are sleeping in this little loft. And here I am working 2 part-time jobs, trying to chase the dream to be free in business. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? Anyway, the long story short is this. I ultimately built and sold that business, and that was a good business. And then I did private equity for 2 years. And then my current business that you mentioned, Modere, I came into a company that was a 25-year-old company. It was a couple $100 million a year in global sales, but it was doing business in 20 plus countries around the world. But it had 8 years of declining revenue, like double-digit per year decline. So they kind of like go in the wrong direction. So I came in as part of a transformation team to help them transform this company, and we literally, I tease people, Kara, the hardest thing to do in business is a turnaround. The second hardest thing to do in business is a startup. We did both at the exact same time, we launched a company called Modere. We launched a business model called social retail, which was a super simple sharing model where we would actually pay people to refer customers to our site. And with that model, in our first 9 years, we acquired over 4 million customers, did over 2.4 billion in revenue, and turned into just this really global success story. And it's been a really, really, really great experience. I've learned a ton, and I still feel like we have all of the juice ahead of us with where we're going as a business. So that's led into, that whole career has led into a lot of my speaking and coaching and all my investment businesses and so on. So it's kind of turned into those. But what I would share with your listeners is there's dream, struggle, victory. They're all equal. So if you have big dreams, you sign yourself up for a struggle equal to the size of the dream and a victory equal to the size of the struggle. And what I would share is I remember listening to an audio series by Jim Rohn. For those of you that know Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn was Tony Robbins' original mentor. And I was listening to this audio series. I'm driving a white Toyota Corolla with 250,000 miles in it. And Mr. Rohn stands up at the end of this weekend seminar and says, we now have enough testimonials because of all the speakers and enough personal experiences to conclude that it's possible to create and to design an extraordinary life. And I remember hearing that thinking, I knew it was possible for those folks to do it. I just didn't know if it's going to be possible for me. And my guess is some of you listening today are, it's possible for Kara to do it. It's possible for people you listen to or watch to do it. It's possible for them. You just don't know if it's possible for you. Well, now I get to come to you, these number of years later, and from my own testimonial and my own personal experience, I get to now share with you that your dreams and that your goals are possible, that it's possible for you to create and to design an extraordinary life. And so I've kind of tried to share that message in 30 plus countries around the world with entrepreneurs and leaders and people that are looking to really level up.
What I love the most, there's so many things, but what I love the most about your philosophy is you're being real. Yes, it's possible. Is it hard? Is it hard right now? Or do you have the easy life now that you've made it?
Speaking from now today,
right?
Here's what I would share. It's all relative. It's relative. Mm-hmm. I just had a friend of mine that got back. He just got back from Papua New Guinea, and he's out on these rafts. Like these people, they will live on like one bowl of rice for the whole week. There's like a mother with children. So is it easy now comparatively to the life that woman and those beautiful kids are living? Yeah, I think it is. It's like plush. With that said, when you have what I would share with people is the dream, struggle, victory. When you get to the victory, guess what you have to do? You have to sign yourself up to go through the whole thing again. Dream bigger dreams, go through bigger struggles, go through new, in other words, you sign up to go through it again. Now, I still have the pressures of business. I'm in business. I'm in the front lines of business. I'm not I don't pontificate about it. I'm doing it, on a daily basis. Part of what I would share is this though. One of my original, I'm going to take this a little bit of a different direction, Kara, but I think this will be helpful for your audience. I was about 22 years old and I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Some of you guys have heard of this book. And he said what poor people do is they have an income and then he had an arrow down to the word expenses. So it goes income, expenses. He says they make money, pay bills. And I remember thinking to myself, that's not what poor people do. That's what I do. I made money and I paid my bills. I didn't think I was poor necessarily because I was making money, so on. He said what rich people do is they have an income. He wrote an arrow down to the word assets. And his definition of assets, by the way, was something that generates cash, whether you continue to exchange time or effort. And he said, and then the assets pay the expenses. And I remember thinking to myself, I was 22 years old. I'd never heard any of this. I didn't have any financial training at all. I just remember thinking, what are assets and how do I get assets? I mean, that sounds amazing. So what is cool is I set out to build financial assets. There's really two ways to build them. You can invest money as one, put money to work for you, or you can build businesses and put people to work for you. And so that's, as I think back now, the situation I'm in now, I've been able to set up an asset-based income. You take your income and then you build assets and to where you kind of have set yourself up. And that does feel really, that feels pretty good, But am I in the fight? Yes. Am I in the struggle? Yes. Do I worry about, how to help people go to the next level in their lives and so on? And am I still hungry in the game? Absolutely. Every single day.
Yeah. So how do you learn now? What are you learning now?
So I'm an avid studier. I'm extremely curious. I love to learn. Right now I'm studying a book. Just to give you an example, like literally right now, it's called The Cadillac Desert. And it's like how the West, so Utah, California, et cetera, how they got water, like how they figured out their water system. To me, it's history. It's fascinating. I like history. I'm fascinated with history. So the way that I basically do it is when I travel, I like to listen to history books. I just finished After Steve. It's the story of Apple after Steve Jobs died. So I like to study history books when I travel because I can just travel and just enjoy the story, if that makes sense. And then I'll study business books or marketing books or leadership books when I can sit down and actually go through it. When I go through those, I'll do it both on Audible as well as written. So I can take the quotes and stats and stories and file them away. So I'm an avid learner. One trait that I think all of us listening can apply that I've been doing literally now for 20 plus years of my life every single day is it's two parts. Number one is avoid your phone for the first hour in the morning. Most people live in a world of reaction to distraction versus a world of intentional creation. And you want to intentionally create your life versus react to the distractions of life. The second thing is take at least the first 10 minutes of the morning and pour positive into your mind. You got to understand the weeds grow automatically. The negativity, the doubt, the fears, the stress, particularly in situations like we're in now, where there's like economic stress and there's inflation stress and potential or current recession stress and global conflict stress. And there's just a lot happening. We'll have political stress regardless of what side you're on as we head into an election cycle next year. So there's just so much happening all at once. So you say to yourself, how do I pour positive into my mind and stand guard at the door of my mind and change the inputs in? So it's I equals IO, input in equals input out. How do I change the inputs in so I change the inputs out? And the first thing you can do is listen for 10 minutes in the morning. Your brain works on wave cycles, and it works on 10.5 wave cycles per second in the morning, which basically just means you're more rested. And you want to listen with what I call relaxed belief, believing it's possible for you. It's possible for you to create and design an extraordinary life. It's possible for you to achieve your dreams and goals. Because remember, if you didn't even think it was possible, like in other words, if it's completely impossible, you're not going to put a lot of time and energy and effort and passion and drive and work and grind into something that's literally impossible, for crying out loud. Like you're just not going to. You first have to at least believe it's possible. Now, it may not be possible for me, but it's at least possible, right? And then you got to say, is it possible for me? Do I have confidence and belief in myself? Can I pull this off? Once you have that, then you're willing to push through, and have delayed gratification and do all that work that it takes. So that listening with relaxed belief, believing it's possible for you, I think is one of the great characteristics or habits that you can stack in the morning to start pouring positive into your mind and getting positive things. And so I'm an avid learner. People say to me sometimes, they're like, how do you have all these quotes and stats, or these quotes and stuff in your mind? And I'm like, I poured so much in there for the last 20 something years, 25 years, whatever it's been, that at some point, just it rattles around in there and you can pull one out every once in a while, so there's just a lot in there that was proactively and very intentionally poured in.
So what started this? Right. Okay. So let's go back even a little bit further. You had a average financial life as a kid, right? Pretty average, nothing.
Yeah. I would say middle class. When my folks got divorced, we were probably, particularly when I was living with my mom, probably a little bit like below probably average, but just kind of a middle class family when we were growing up. And then those were some grinder years. We were kind of moving around a lot, and my mom was, trying to make it all happen as a single mom.
Yeah. So what gave you've gone from there to where you are now? How would you characterize where you are now?
Yeah. Geez, it's so interesting. It's like, I remember my mom, I was probably 14 or so. And she got out Monopoly money for me and my little brother and my little sister. And she was showing us how much rent cost, but was using Monopoly money. She goes, it costs this much. And she laid it down. She goes, this is how much it costs to like do the utilities, like the lights and so on. Okay, got it. She laid it down. This is how much groceries cost. She laid it down. So she kept going through her bills, the family bills, and she had no more Monopoly money. And she was saying, guys, the Monopoly money is my budget. I don't have any more money than this. This is all I've got. I've got this much money each month. Like, we got to figure out the way to make all this work. I think most people live in a situation somewhat similar to that. We have, as an average, $400 to $1,000 in our bank accounts. Like, just, I'm speaking of just the broad cross section of the country. And so what happens is a lot of our mental mind frame every single day is basically survival. And what I mean by survival is like, how am I going to pay the bills? You know what I'm saying? Like, how am I going to make this thing work today? Mm-hmm. That next bill's coming up. Gosh, dang it, how am I going to pay that bill? What am I going to do? And what I would share with you, my friend, is this. You want to create situations starting today, particularly through a business, through something that a new skill that you can learn, add some new skills to where you can become more valuable to the marketplace, because the marketplace is the great employer. The marketplace pays you what it thinks you're worth. So we're not employed by our job, our boss. We're not employed by the real estate broker. We're employed by the marketplace, and the marketplace will pay you what it thinks you're worth. So what you do is you say, okay, what skills can I learn to add more value to the marketplace to earn more income? Some people earn $10 an hour, some earn $100 an hour, some earn $1,000 or some earn $10,000. Some people earn $100,000 an hour. What's the difference? They're just bringing more value to the hour, right? The hour is the same. So you say, what skills can I learn? Because what we want to do is it's really 3 steps, by the way. Number 1 is maximize your income, make more money. Right. Like, we need to generate more cash. So one of the things I'm so passionate about helping people do with my, with the business that I run, is I help people to generate more income. Number 2 is minimize expenses. So you maximize and then you minimize. So you create a trend line going up on income and going down on expenses. I teach people how to create a debt snowball where you're spending less and less and less on frivolous crap, And then 3rd is start creating cash flowing assets, where we have things that are generating cash for you versus you being behind the 8 ball of interest. You're paying a lot of interest, you're actually earning interest. And so it's actually working for you. That's the formula. And man, that formula literally changed my whole life. A billionaire mentor of mine taught me that formula, those 3 steps: maximize, minimize, and build. And it literally changed my whole life. And to kind of give you an idea, and I share this with you to not boast or brag, but just to kind of give some context.
I'm asking you for it so people can really understand that they should listen to you.
Yeah. I will make more money this year on interest. So interest meaning your asset based than what took me, 20 years or so in my career as a top performer to earn in a year in my career. Does that make sense? So in other words, whoa, like, that's just so incredible. And by the way, I want to share this with you. I set goals 5 years ago. I set a goal. So I'm 42 right now. I set a goal for when I was 50. So at the time I had 13 years to go hit this. And I set it was a 13-year goal. So I'm 5 years into a 13-year goal. And I've already exceeded what my 13-year goal was. And by the way, the 13-year goal at the time was almost one of those goals you set and you're kind of like, I hope this is real. Like, it felt too big at the time. And I share all of that with you to say this, my friends. Here's the point I'm trying to get to. You want to pull success closer to you. If it feels so far away, if it feels 80 years from now, it's just too hard to touch it or feel it or taste it. You want to pull this stuff closer. What can I do to maximize my income? God, you start asking those questions. What skills can I develop? What mindsets would I need? Number 2, what can I do to minimize my expenses? Like, I haven't even been to that gym, the one I have the gym membership for. I've never even been to that one. So why do I have that one? Right. And then number 3 is, what can I do cash flowing assets? And one of the questions you want to ask is this: how much interest income do you want to earn? So in other words, asset-based income. So let's say it's $100 a month. And then by when? You start setting those goals, because here's what's so cool about your mind. So let me just, I'll riff on this for 1 sec. Your brain cannot not answer a question. Your brain cannot not answer a question. So check this out. Kara, watch this. Are you tall or short? Are you fast or slow? Would you rather have Italian food, or would you rather have Indian food? Would you rather watch a movie or read a book? Would you rather travel or stay home? Did your brain answer every question that I just asked you, right? Now, you didn't answer them verbally, but your brain's answering those as we go, right? Here's the point. That's how our brains are wired. So when you start asking better questions, you start getting better answers. I tell people, upgrade the quality of your questions. You'll upgrade the quality of your life. What can I do to maximize my income? What can I do to minimize my expenses? What asset could I build? Can I build $100 a month, $500 a month, $1,000 a month, and by when? You start asking those questions, your brain goes to work and starts figuring this stuff out for you. You start surrounding yourself with different people. You start putting yourself in different situations. You start learning new skills. Like, you can change your whole life. And here's what happens. Then instead of being in that kind of survival mode, how do I pay the next bill? You get to like elevate above that. That's not your dominant thought, to where you really can say, what is my life's purpose? What am I really trying to do? Like, how am I going to help humanity? Like, how am I really going to serve my kids or serve my church or serve my community? You get to ask those questions because you're not in the, how do I pay the next bill, mindset.
Wow. Oh my gosh. This is so exciting. Okay. So how hard is it to change you? Everything that you're talking about, Justin, everything that you've said involves a ton of personal responsibility. I just heard a stat, I think it was this morning, maybe it was yesterday, that if you were to ask Americans, 75% of them will tell you that where their problems are because of someone outside of themselves. What do you say to that?
You just asked, like, this is like an underhand, slow pitch softball question for me, because I have a lot of energy on this subject. My friend, success requires that you rid yourself of all entitlement and that you raise your personal responsibility. And so I know that you're listening to a podcast like this because success is something you think about and you're chasing and pursuing and living a significant life and being the one that writes a story and lives a life that future generations of kids know who you are. Like, that's you. So it requires that it's what I call rid and raise. So imagine there's a pulley system. As you rid yourself of all entitlement, at the same time, you'll raise your personal responsibility. And it feels very kind of threatening and scary to do this sometimes, because we're thinking, we almost want to hold on to some of these excuses that we've made. We want to hold on to some of the reasons. We want to say, but you don't understand. You don't understand. This is how I was raised. You don't understand. This is the challenges I've faced. And I want to point out, it's not that your challenges aren't completely legitimate and that they weren't very painful and very real and very hard and hurtful, all that stuff. Don't feel any lack of empathy when I say this. When you rid yourself of all of that entitlement that someone owes you something, or that someone's been empowering over your life, when you rid yourself of that, then you now get to own your own life. They now are not in control of your life anymore. You're in control. All of those circumstances and events that have happened to you, you get to own the response to all that stuff. Viktor Frankl calls it the gap between the event and the response, or the event and the outcome. He got to own the R, the way he responded, and the gap. And this is when you change your whole life. You say, listen, I'm going to live a significant life. I'm not going to whine. I'm not going to blame. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to make excuses. I'm not going to, look at other people and say, if you just would have come through for me, then I would be where I need to be. I'm not going to do that anymore in every single key area of your life. Stephen Covey talks about it is going from dependent to independent to interdependent. So dependent is everything's based on someone else. Like, you're dependent on them. You're dependent on your spouse. You come through for me. You're dependent on your job. You're dependent on the government. You're dependent on somebody else or something else, right? Independent is, I'm self-reliant. Like, I will come through. So it goes from it's focused on them to focused on yourself, independent. But then he says the next step up is interdependent, which is actually we. So we is when we actually, you start like partnering and working and collaborating in an interdependent way with other people, and you can accomplish things as a group that you couldn't accomplish by yourself. And that's a very, very, very powerful state to get into, is an interdependency, where it's actually about the combined of all of us. So that's what I would share with you, is to say, rid yourself of all entitlement, raise your personal responsibility, go from a dependent person to an independent person. And then you can actually go to interdependent, where there's an old Bible verse that says, if one could lead 1,000 to flight, two can lead 10,000. And you say to yourself, wait a second, if one could lead 1,000, two could lead 2,000. There's something that happens when you become interdependent with the right people. You get the right associations in your life. All of a sudden things become multiplying. They're not just addition, they multiply. And that is a really powerful situation to find yourself in.
No doubt. I heard Michael Jordan was a really good ball player until he got where he needed to be with the people. No one succeeds alone. And so when he got with the right people, then he became the Michael Jordan we all know and love now. So yeah, very cool. So what does your day look like? You wake up, what is it like? Because you're traveling. I can't imagine how you do everything you do.
Yeah. So I'm up early. I head to the gym. I kind of have like my little morning routine, drinking the water, avoiding the phone, listen to something positive, do my stretches, head to the gym for about an hour. Typically we'll do like a 30-minute cardio, like I'll go for a walk. And then from there I get home and I start kind of my day, whether it's in this case, like a podcast like this, I've got a meeting after this. And so you just kind of start building your business and, building your team and adding value. I have a coaching client today, here in a little bit. So, and then I build all of that in with being a father and being, a husband and all the things that are, the really important in life. I'm going with my son tonight. I'm speaking this weekend. So I'm taking my 10-year-old son. And so you're building those times where now I'm going to go, you shift, you then transition into the dad mode, right? Where you're in the car with your son and you guys are talking about all those things. And then you shift into business mode and so on. So, my life, I feel like it's pretty full. There's a lot going on, but I also really believe in the power of teams and systems, building great teams around you. So it's not, how do I get it all done? It's who do I need on the team to help me get it all done? And, we work in a spirit of collective genius where, again, interdependency where we can all work together. And that's kind of how you get there.
Okay, so another softball for you. I know it's going to be a softball for you, and I really am curious, and I'm sure that anyone who's listening to this is curious. You help people make money through Modere, and a lot of us have had not so much fun experiences with this kind of a multi-level kind of a thing. What makes you so different? Why are you the most successful at it in the world?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I remember when I was first kind of introduced to the whole network marketing, the multi-level thing, I actually had kind of a cringe, visceral reaction to it. Mm-hmm. I didn't and by the way, you say, well, why did you have that? I don't even know why I had that. I just did, it was like I had some sort of specific bad experience when I was 25. I think a lot of people feel that way. And I also think that oftentimes we're down on what we're not up on. So in other words, it's like, we don't have a ton of reasons. Like in my case, I didn't have a ton of reasons to feel that way. I just kind of did, but it really came from just a lack of understanding and education and the whole thing. So that's my first thing. Second thing I'd say is I do think that there's right ways and wrong ways to do any business or any profession. So like I know real estate professionals that are just awesome. They are awesome. They are professional and they are on point. And I know some that are total sleazeballs. Yep. And I know some attorneys that are fantastic. They are so good at what they do and just ethical and smart and just driven. And I know some that are just, ugh. And I know mortgage professionals that are amazing. And I know some that are not awesome. The point I'm saying is there's right ways and wrong ways to do anything. And so sometimes the bad apples spoil it for everybody just a little bit. It's like the insurance salesman that is just kind of like just overbearing and a little tacky and just whatever kind of spoils it for all great insurance salesmen, So I do think there's a little bit of that in kind of the direct sales network marketing world. With all those things said, I also felt like the business model was fundamentally broken. The business model in direct sales, most of the volume or revenue for the company comes from salespeople. They call them distributors or representatives or associates buying the product. So the people that are selling the product are also buying the product. And I felt like that was fundamentally a broken model. I felt like that was kind of fundamentally a flawed model. I felt like if you own a car dealership and most of or all of the sales of the cars are happening from your salespeople, so in other words, your salespeople are buying the cars, that to me feels very broken. So we build a model where 85+% it comes from actual retail end of the line customers, someone that's not trying to do a business, they're not trying to make money, they just love the products. And that really shifted our whole, kind of the paradigm of our profession. And so that's the one thing. The second thing is I really believe, so Robert Schuller was a famous religionist author. And he says, if you build the people will build the church. Like, I really believe I'm in the people building business. Like, I really try and focus on helping people build in all of the kind of key areas of their life. So, I want their marriages to be strong. I want their fitness to be strong. I want their faith, whatever that journey looks like for them, to be strong. And I think faith, your spiritual life is part of your life. Your mental or emotional health is part of your life. Your physical health is part of it. Like, if your marriage is a disaster and falling apart and super toxic, it's hard to thrive in all the other areas. Everything's interconnected. And so I want to help people in all those different areas. And I think that approach of really building the people has ultimately really helped to build the leadership and to build the culture of the business. And then I think, the other thing that makes it really unique is just, I think our products are just off the charts. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to live and die by the bedrock of your business is going to be the quality of your products and the quality of your offering. And we have really, really, really dynamic and really fantastic products. And so the business model, with our social retail model, make it simple to share, simple to acquire actual customers, have people make money online without having to recruit anybody and, bug people. They can go out and, generate income. Second thing is the leadership development. And then third is just the quality of the offer that you have with the quality of products.
Okay. Well, those were great answers. And I know your time is very, very valuable. I won't keep you any longer, but thank you so much for blessing us and our entire audience and whoever might get to watch this and get to see a little bit about who you are and what life is like. Can I ask you one last question?
Yeah, of course.
The flag, whose is that?
Oh, so that was actually given to me as a gift. Trying to remember what ship it was flown on. It was flown during the second Iraq War. And one of our service members is a woman that I worked with. She gave me that. It's a gift from her. It was really sweet, and it flew on top of one of our aircraft carrier battleships. And so it just is a meaningful, it's a meaningful thing to me, both because of my relationship with her and my respect for her and all of our service members, as well as just my love for the country. And I don't think America is perfect, but America is the greatest experiment in the history of humanity, and I love the ideals that what America was built on and that we're always striving to live up to.
I could not agree more. I've got someone on my team who just became an American citizen, and we got to go to the citizenship. And I tell you what, it was so moving. And Americans who don't appreciate America, oh my gosh, that they just don't know. They just don't know what we have. And sure, it could be better, but we're making it better one person at a time.
That's right.
So thank you, brother. I appreciate it very, very much.
Well, Kara, honored to be on with you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.